Hi guys, it's me again. And this is Mrs. Spasm Stacy Taylor, where you will get a master's level education from a very specific person. So, last lesson, you were supposed to be fact finding, and we're going to do a quick review of that really quick on the things you're supposed to fact find so that you can do in the setup, a basic budget setup. Fact finding. Those are the things we will and won't talk about. These are why people don't budget. These are why you should. Um, we're going to go through today and I'll show you really quick the definitions again: identify, prioritize, customize, and utilize. And we talked about budget, manage, and it's all just a way for you to be in control of your money. Remember that gross is how much you earn before taxes are taken out, and net is what is actually your check amount. If you want to think about it like a fishing net, you're fishing and whatever stays in the net is what you get to keep. You've identified all of your sources of income, what they are, when they come in, how much they are, and any notes. And then I don't know why I have that on there twice. I said that last time. And now we're going to talk about some budget template examples, but then I'll show you some things later. But this again taco bar. It's about you. What is going to work for you? Even if you're using apps like Rocket Money, hi, Rocket Money, if you want to give a shout out to me there. I have a daughter that uses Rocket Money and she loves it and it's great. And there are so many apps out there I don't even know because I've been doing it old school so long that's just the way it is. Um, my husband might be switching over to something like that later, but we do something different here just because that's what I've been doing for 30 years. Even though I'm open to different things, I still teach this basic way because sometimes I think even with apps and things that if you can just go through these basic steps, then it allows you to learn about yourself, your habits, your, whatever, in a way that maybe Rocket Money doesn't initially. There may be apps out there that do this exact same thing that we're doing. I don't know. I don't have time to look it up and see, but this is about you. If you like it, great. If you don't, oh well, we'll move along. So you've gotten all the information together. This is the beginning of an example in your spreadsheet of what if you got paid every week. This is how you would set it up. So each week would have a different column of your net pay, right? So your total income right there is 4,500 because you're getting paid 1,000 a week, um, plus 500 for, I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of anything right now. Sorry, having a bad brain day. But if you have a base pay and then you work on commissions, then this is a way that you would be able to set that up. If your base pay is every 2 weeks, then that is your column E, column F. And then you can add in however many commissions you get. If you could get commissions every week, you can add in all of those that would look like that. Um, monthly is the best because it's the easiest because you set it up and then you don't have to think about it. And we'll talk more about that later. Here's some various ways that you can do it. Let's say that you get paid every other week. So that's paycheck one and paycheck two. And then you've got child support that comes in, and then your Etsy shop, and then I don't know, your money from YouTube ads comes in, whatever that looks like. But there's always ways to add in all of the income that you keep getting. Biweekly is looking like that. You just do a first check and second check, and then we'll talk about a cool thing if you do get paid biweekly. Um, I'm gonna skip that for a second, and then we'll go over later. But then you did a brain dump. You've collected all of the bills, all of the things that you pay for. Um, every penny that you spend, you have now made a list. So this is when the brain dump comes into play. Um, it's because then you're going to list all of these things right here, just like you did in the brain dump. You're going to dump those in a column, and then you're going to assign, which is the prioritizing. What is necessity versus need versus nice? Now, let me explain. Necessity is things that you absolutely have to have in this life. Okay? That is, we're starting at the very bottom of Maslow's triangle of hierarchy of need. Necessity is housing, food, clothing, because the needs would be, did I say housing, food, and clothing? Yes. Housing is necessity, but let me change that up. I'm so sorry. Okay, so absolute necessities are going to be housing, your mortgage or your rent. If you pay mortgage, then a necessity is also going to be your um, house insurance. If you have cars, which most of us have, unless you live in a big city and take transportation, then that is a necessity, because you would also have car insurance. And so those things are necessities. Needs are things like clothing and food that you need to survive. However, those you're more in control of how much you spend. So I could have the exact same mortgage as my neighbor, but she may have three little kids and I only have my son. And so our clothing and school needs and food, grocery bill, although with my son, our grocery bill would probably be the same as hers with her three kids. And then other things that are needs today in 2025 that weren't needs when I taught this back in 2000, are the cell phone. And so before, back in 2000, 25 years ago, cell phones were niceties. But now we know that they are needs. But even those can be controlled with different plans that you have and different, you know, you can tweak some of that stuff. And then the niceties are going to be the car washes and your Starbucks run throughs and your streaming services. And there's a reason why it seems a little black and white, and I will explain that right here. So you've assigned the necessities, the needs, and the nice things. And the reason that you've done that is because you're gonna, if you set it up on a spreadsheet, like I'm gonna show you in a second. Um, Hi, my brain. I'm telling you, guys, getting more and more tired as the time goes on. Just a second. So sorry. So as you've listed and prioritized, then when you set it up in a spreadsheet, you're going to be able to set it up in a way so that if you were to lose your job, then those nice things would be the first things that you cut out. Now, some people are looking at pet food and then are going, excuse me. But the reality is, if you're about to be homeless because you just lost your job and you have no savings and you've got 15 cats, then one of those things is going to need to go, right? So, this is why it can kind of seem so black and white. I'm very aware because I have a dog, that pet food is a need in our house. But if, I've already retired early, but my husband, if he lost his job today, we would cut out a lot of things. Haircuts, maybe. I'd start cut. I mean, I kind of cut my boys' hair anyway, but I'd definitely start cutting their hair. Um, and then like no more pizza nights, no more coffee runs, like any way to chop that off because or they let's say that you got a demotion instead of promotion or you've got lower money because I hit 2008 again. Whatever. That this is the point is to prioritize your expenses. Um, so I'm going to stop sharing for a second and then I'm gonna show you. All righty. So this looks like a lot. I could have made it more simple, but I actually just copied and pasted from the budget that I work with. This is not my personal numbers. These are made up numbers. Some of you may be going, oh my gosh, I wish I made $4,000 a month. And some of you are like, how do people live on $4,000 a month? These are just made up numbers. It doesn't matter. But this is an example of you knowing your income. And this particular uh, template is set up so that you know your first check and your second check of the month. And so here is this is your monthly income. And so everything I'm lighting up like in blue right here, that becomes your monthly budget. And this area right here is how you set up. If you see the I'm pointing and you can't see without me pointing here. If you see up here, this is actually a summation. So it is this amount, $4,000 minus the sum of all of the money that you have just budgeted. And so as I go down here and I can take out that, then it's going to say I've got $8.66 left, right? So I'll put that back in and then so that it does the math for me. Hello, use words, Stacy. Okay. So the first couple of things you're going to put up at the very, very top is charity for those of you that pay tithing in your churches, um, or that, and it may not be the same you may not be on that 10%. You may just be when you can, you give to charity, and then savings. But those two things should be. I'm not going to should on you. I'm so sorry. I should it on you. I shouldn't have done that. If that is your choice, if that is your lifestyle, if that is your priorities, then you keep charity and savings at the top of your need, of your budget. Then, as we went through the necessities versus the needs, I think you'll see here that how this makes more sense. So necessities, it would be your rent and then your insurances, okay? So then you come over here and these are the needs. Like you need your utilities. These are all utilities. And then you need a little bit because even though you've got insurance, hopefully you've got health insurance, you still have your copay or your out of pocket, whatever. Um, Usually the rent, the insurance, and these utilities can be set in stone in the fact that with gas and electricity, you can sign up for the budget plans. And so that gives you a straight amount across of how much it's going to be. So for a long time, my electric was like $89, and then they raised it to $110. And so anyway, so right now we're just looking at this far on these far columns. So then you get down to the needs. So that's the absolute necessities, and then this comes with it, right? Then because you have prioritized, these needs then can be flexible, like we just talked about. Gas, if you set $200 for your gas bill because it's 2020 and nobody's driving anywhere, then you're going to have a really nice buildup of gas money once COVID lifted, right? Your groceries, that can be something that you like, I don't need $400 for groceries. And yeah, I need $400 for groceries. Actually, I need $1,400 for groceries because I'm feeding Shaquille O'Neal for dinner. Whatever. Your cell phone, you can totally, um, that may be $25. I know I was just talking with my dad and he didn't want to change carriers, even though where he lives doesn't have a tower. We can barely get a hold of him most of the time, but he only wants to pay his $25 a month plan. So whatever that looks like, but it's things that you can tweak. You can work with the companies on. You can set, pick different plans. For instance, over here under your streaming services, this is why I have it being flexible, is you don't have to do the $45 plan on Hulu. Hi, Hulu. You don't have to do a plan, the $12 plan for Disney or for Peacock. You can do the cheaper ones, you can do more. It just depends on how much income you have and where you have put this as a priority. Um, okay, so there's one thing right here. I'm going to go ahead and just highlight it actually to remember to come back. But on this needs flex. So I've got home as in home TP. That means like there it's important to separate groceries from home needs, if that's good for you. Home needs is going to be your toilet paper and your detergents and things like that. And you separate that from your groceries and you can then decide, you know what, I've got enough toilet paper this month, so I really need to buy some more detergent. And it just helps you constantly make decisions about what's a priority and what isn't. I'll come back to the monthly plan in just a second, but then the house fix it, if for those of you that own. Clothing, again, can be one of those things that's very flexible with however much you think you need or you want or whatever. Um, Car maintenance, this says 50 because I work in just these rounded numbers, right? But even if you're just putting $25 a month back for car maintenance, when it's time to change the oil and that bill comes, but in your account you've got $120 that to cover that or whatever. I don't know. My brain today, I'm so sorry. Okay, so gifts and dry cleaning and all that. Again, I will come back to the monthly plan, but then you've got niceties, which is allowances, dad's allowance, mom's allowance, music, because he and I are, building our vinyl collection when we go to thrift stores and uh, antique places to buy cheap vinyl. Um, So we have an account for that, a family fun account. Yours may be bigger because you've got kids and you actually need to go out and do things as a family. Date night, which is important for my husband and I. And then this change can just be that extra. That might be this 866 might come from or might be what's left. And then that is where okay, that's my Starbucks um, budget for the month. And then you pull out that $10 or whatever, and then you just pay in cash. And so that helps a lot too. All right. On the, I don't have it here. Oh man. Okay. So Monthly plan. Monthly plan is kind of like if you're a homeowner and you know about escrow. Escrow are the taxes. This is how they also do it when you set up a budget plan for some of your utilities, is they take the average and then they divide it by 12, and then that becomes your monthly plan. And so what I have is a list of things that I don't have to pay for every month, but that comes up through the year. So it might not need to come out of the monthly budget. For instance, let's say that I still subscribe to a magazine, um, but I only pay for that in August and it's $10. I'm trying to think of what else is on our graduation gifts in May. Um, the tag renewals on the car. Those mine are due in May or March. I can't remember. And so it's not gonna, that's not gonna be something I'm gonna pay every month. But this is when the discipline kicks in, is because once you get this set up, you also set up different little accounts, and we can talk about different ways to do that. But then that money goes in there and goes in there and goes in there. And then when May comes along and I get a bill for $160 for to renew my tags here in this great state of Illinois, don't get me started. Um, then that money has been sitting in there, and it's not like this, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Now something else has to be sacrificed. So what I did is I have a screen where I go through um, all of the things, my Costco uh, renewal, but I wrote down January through December, and then I wrote down what things are due when. Um, our kids are older now, so it's easier to set that birthday budget. So let me just see. You know what? I will. If this is sharing, yeah, I'm still sharing. Okay. Um, I can do this super fast. Don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look. Okay. So this is my monthly plan. All right. So I do instead of Christmas cards, I do a newsletter, and I just let all the Christmas cards come in, and then in January is when I buy stamps, and then I print the newsletter and postage and envelopes and all that kind of stuff. We've named our cars, and so you'll see Carl's tags are due, then my tags are due, and then ignore the mulch thing, but like graduation, and then my daughter's birthday's in June or July. So in June, I want to make sure I've got money to send her for her birthday. Costco, my other daughter's birthday, my son's birthday, Halloween candy, Amazon fee, my son-in-law's birthday. We've got a license renewal, driver's license renewal, which you'll see it says next year, 2026 is when mine is due, and it's going to run me around $100. And then there is something that my husband uses for a financial person that we pay once a year. And so what I've done, you can see there, is I listed everything, and then I've added it up. That's why it's in the parentheses. And then this is the total for the month. So that is all added up. And then this is divided by 12. So I know that for us, to keep that money in there so that it's there when we need it. I call it a monthly plan, and I don't do 178.75. I probably do a little bit cheaper, maybe 175 straight across. But let me go back to. I'm having a hard time because I can't see. Okay. Um, um, the teaching demo. I lost it. No, I didn't. It's right here. Okay. So that's what the Mo plan is. The Mo plan is things that you have to pay at a certain point during the year, but it shouldn't come out of your month. Did it again, shouldn't. You don't have to put it in your monthly budget. If you want to, you can. If you want to divide that 150 for my tags, and then I put it in a tag fund. So I'm putting, you know, 10, $10 and 50 cents a month into a tag fund so that every March or May that comes around, then I have it in there. That's fine. Again, taco bar, this is just throwing out stuff. You pick what you like. Um, so then this is the first check. And so all of the things in this row are what come out of the first check. And this is also the first check. And so this is where, if you see, I delete that, that tells me how much I have left. So I'm going to put 50 back in there to make sure that that's zero. Now here's another trick that I've done is I know I'm going to pay charity $50 because that I can afford that through my income. My savings, when I first start to do this, I don't know how much savings I'm going to have until these are all covered. And then once I know that's covered, then I know how much I can take out, and then I can fiddle with this stuff down here. So let's go back to boom, 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 boom. Hi, you get to see everything I'm working on today. Oh my goodness, where did it go? Sorry. Hi, how you doing? I can't see because the bar is up there. Uh, there we go. Okay, we're back. Okay, so I gave you the demo. You set it up. That like I said, rewind, fast forward, do whatever you want. But your homework is just to finish setting up the budget and then to utilize the budget because you may find that, you know what, I really don't need 200 for gas because I'm I'm now working at home 3 days a week. And so my gas, you know, your gasoline for the car, you just play with it, you utilize it, you exercise it like we did with the organizing. And then you just continue tracking stuff. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will try to get back to you. But you just practice and practice and practice. And it takes a while to get things set up. The way that I've set up the monthly budget that I showed you before was in a way that the second check of what month is this? July. I still think it's July. The second check of July is actually paying for August stuff. That makes sense. So the second check in July is paying for the mortgage, which comes out of the bank account on the 5th of August. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, so that is a way for you to set up a basic budget. And here are some tips and tricks really quick. If you get paid bi-weekly every other week, there are 2 times in that year that you're going to have a third check in that month because you get paid 26 paychecks a month. It's like, wait a minute, what? You get an extra paycheck. And so then you can set up one that just says, yeah, I still want to pay charity. I still want to do my savings, but I still need to pay gas. I still need to get groceries out of there, but I don't have to pay the mortgage and I don't have to pay this. Our spring usually comes in the spring. 2025 is weird because January was a third check. And I think August this year is a third check for us. But usually it's the spring, and so the spring check, the extra we would pull a little bit out to do some gardening, landscape stuff. And then the one in the fall would usually be where we would get our Christmas money. Because you probably saw I didn't do Christmas. That might be super important to you, and you might want a Christmas budget. It's all up to you. But if you get paid every other week, you twice a year, you will have a third paycheck of a month. And because that second paycheck has already paid, let's say in August, right? We're going to have three paychecks. The second paycheck, the middle of the month, is actually already paid for your mortgage for September 5th. So then that third paycheck, you don't have to work. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. But that's what I like, to pretend that I get an extra fun paycheck. Making a menu is super, super important, because, and this was a game changer for somebody, and I adore her. Her name is Becky, and I don't know if she'll ever even watch this, but I taught something similar to this in a women's group, and she said it was kind of a game changer. But you want to base your menu based on what's happening, because you're not going to want to make like some, oh, I'm looking here at the menu, like some 7 course meal on the night that you've got soccer and ballet. Well, meaning because you've got a boy and twins, I don't know, boy, girl, whatever. You've got soccer, you've got ballet. You know that Thursday night is gonna be like you make yourself a sandwich and then we gotta get out the door, or it's McDonald's night, or whatever, however you want to do that. But what happens is if you make your menu based on that week, I know I have it for a month, but if you have one based on that week, you're going to see that, oh, wait, Sunday, I don't have to make a big old meal because we're eating at my mom's, and this week I'm only in charge of the salad. Um, and then Thursday is we're going to be gone for dance and soccer. Uh, Saturday, we've been invited to a barbecue, and I was just asked to bring drinks. Things like that, and that will really help with your grocery budget as well. Ha, there's my monthly plan. Okay, so reinforcement reminders are, you can find all kinds of stuff online for debt elimination. And I'm not even going to go into that here because um, there are people that can explain that and do that better. So just look online. You can actually find apps that will help you set up a debt elimination thing as well. And so anyway, yeah, here we go. That's yep, I think that's it. That is it for today. So I hope that this has been helpful. Any of this that made something click, or that made something seem easier, or that things you haven't thought of before. But I'm going to stop sharing now so I can then get into here and hit stop recording. But it was good to see you again, and I will see you the next roundabout. Okay, bye.